Rob. Good afternoon.
Hey, Makand, how are you?
Good, Rob. So today's topic: how to capitalize on your mistakes. Jumping right into it. When is a mistake good for you, Rob?
I was thinking about this in the last few weeks. When a coworker of mine came to me with a mistake that they had made a little while ago, they came to me and said that they'd done something wrong. And it wasn't a huge mistake. It wasn't going to alter anybody's businesses or careers or whatever. It was a relatively small mistake, but they were worried about it. They had come to me with this problem, and they had let go of the idea that they could fix it themselves without anybody knowing. They were communicating the problem, and it made me respect them more. It made me appreciate them as a coworker more because they were able to improve their understanding of the situation by speaking to someone else and saying, "Hey, I made a mistake. How do I fix it?" The benefit here is that it showed me that this person was far more free thinking than I thought they were before. Before with that, they came to me. We didn't really speak. They would, I'm part of a fairly large team, so we don't always, connect on a daily basis. But they came to me specifically with this problem and this mistake that they'd made, and it showed me that they were taking responsibility. Sometimes I think it's the steps that you take after the mistake that matter, and not the mistake itself. I think that's why it's an important topic to discuss today, because I think people are more afraid of making mistakes than they are focused on figuring out how to fix them and how to proactively take on problems and solve them. I think people are worried about what people think when you make a mistake, and I think really you don't have to. It's not that you don't have to worry about it. There are some mistakes, obviously, that have significant consequences. It's just that small mistakes happen all the time. Nobody's perfect, and there are a great many benefits that can come from even a relatively small mistake that you might make, whether at work or personally.
That's interesting. So you are looking more into the ownership of that mistake rather than the mistake itself, right?
Yeah, exactly. It tells you a lot about a person's character when they're able to admit their mistakes and they're able to accept that there was a fault there, and they're able to sort of build on that and sort of let go of the idea of that themselves as this perfect being, because obviously I have numerous examples of myself not being perfect, but when I see someone else come to me and say like, "Hey, I wasn't perfect here, I messed up," it shows me that they have at least the strength of character to sort of understand how best to respond to a mistake being made, and that can really be beneficial to both connecting with people and to solving the mistake itself.
Makes sense. So have you made a mistake that you are obviously not proud about, but how did you come out of it?
I continue to make mistakes. I'm sitting here right now with a band-aid on my finger because I cut myself this morning just trying to make breakfast, as you do when you are a very uncoordinated person just trying
I've
to.
lobbed off tips of my fingers too with the knife, so I have been there.
Yeah, it's this is a different topic, but there's just so many things going on all the time. I'm never concentrating on the one thing I should be. The sharp object that I'm holding. The one I can think of right now, or the many I can think of right now, mistakes that I made in personal relationships when I was dating the wrong people. I really benefited from making mistakes like that while I was younger, because you get to find out exactly who you are. Very quickly, you'll find out what you like and what you don't like as a person, and what you'll put up with and won't put up with. And I think that is really, especially for younger people trying to figure this out and whether they're making the right choices in life. When it comes to dating people, making friendships, the important thing is to speak to as many people as possible and find out what you like and don't like. Because I've encountered a lot of difficulties in relationships when I was a lot younger, but without doing that, I wouldn't be married now, and I wouldn't be able to sort of know exactly who I was looking for when I found my wife. You wouldn't know that without first meeting people, finding out, hey, I don't like this, I don't like that. These are things that I'm personally doing wrong in how I communicate. How can I improve upon those things? You've got to sort of test those things out and sort of figure out who you are and what you like and who's in your life that could fit with what your expectations are. Right? It's all about managing your personal thoughts about things and trying to improve upon yourself while meeting people and having different experiences. So definitely, most of my the one example, the few examples I can think of right now are mostly about dating the wrong people, and the benefits in my later life, my current middle-aged life, gosh, that have accrued from just meeting people, going out and having conversations. You date the wrong person, but really you're not dating that person because they're the wrong person. You go into it with a good idea, and then you realize that it's not going to work, and then you find what does work, and that's the only way of doing it. It's often true of business too, right? Where we go into a strategy that we hope will work. It's not necessarily that we went into it with the wrong intentions. It just doesn't fit with what we want to do moving forward, and then we change, we pivot a little bit. Many people consider these mistakes. You consider like a misstep a mistake, but you get to learn a lot by making these mistakes, and then you get to sort of realign yourself on a path going forward. You're always sort of on a growth path, right? And mistakes are part of that growth path, I think.
Of course, you learn from your mistakes. At least I have a couple of examples that I can share. At work, some time ago, I had incorrectly priced a product to a customer, meaning customer is paying lower than what we had set the price for the product. So obviously, I got into it with my management. I did own up to it, say that hey, it was an oversight. This was a case of miscommunication with the client. So it was kind of in the gray area, which I did not clarify. And at the time of starting the project, they had taken the lower price and run with it. And the onus was on me to rectify it, or rather, it was my responsibility to have corrected it. I did not. But management was okay. They're like, it's fine. These things happen, but be careful next time. Kind of conversation I had with my manager. He
Yes.
was nice about it, or at least professionally, kind of encouraging me to learn from it and go forward. It's hard to kind of find those types of managers, and I'm thankful to him for that. So that is one thing that I learned from, and the lessons learned is kind of double checking everything.
Did that
Um,
improve your relationship with your managers? Did that help the way they responded to it?
they were understanding. At least my management was understanding. My managers was understanding, even though they were quite disappointed in the turn of events. Of course, who does not want to make money, right?
Yeah.
But at least they were understanding to the point that this is not uncommon in the industry and that these things happen, and for me to kind of double check going forward, which I have. And I think the better outcome was for me to have owned up to it from the get-go, instead of saying no,
Yeah.
no, it's their fault, they did not see it. Which, if you're at fault and they people know you're at fault, I don't think any story to the contrary is going to help you, because it's always going to be like, hey, you can see it, it's your fault, why you're trying to lie your way around it, right? It does not look nice, it's not professional. So I owned up to it, I made a mistake. Owning up has always also made me comfortable, because I don't kind of beat about the bush. I'm like, hey, I made a mistake, what do you want me to do? Right?
Yeah.
Instead of it's done, it's like spilt milk, I have to clean it up, right? So that's the attitude I take. And to answer your question, has your relationship improved with your manager? Yes, it has, because he was welcoming of straight shooters. Since I was upfront about it and I owned up to it and trying to promise him that it won't happen again, which till now it has not, he was kind of happy with the turn of events, if that answered your question.
Yeah, I know 100%, because I'm thinking of it from your manager's perspective too, right? They're going, here is a hardworking guy who made a mistake, and they seem to have reacted in the right way. It's like, yes, of course we want to make more money, but they know long term you're going to make them money either way, and in many ways it's probably improved your working process moving forward, right? So it's really that's a win for you in general. Like it probably it sucks that it happened, but it's one of those things where now that it's happened, you are benefiting from that process.
It kind of leans into the next question, rather. Why should lean into your mistake? This has helped me project myself as somebody who is upfront with my responsibilities, taking ownership of my responsibilities, both good and bad. And that sets profile of me amongst my peers, right? Hey, this guy is a straight shooter, he does not
Yeah.
mess around. If it's a good thing, he owns up to it. If it's a bad thing, he makes changes so that doesn't happen again. So he's a reliable guy. At least for me, that's the messaging I got, the feedback I got from my manager. You are transparent in your behavior, which kind of helps. Do I lean into it? I think I lean into the lessons learned from my mistakes. And also remember this instance every transaction I make, just because I don't make the same mistake. That's not to say I will never make another mistake again, but if that something comes up, I do lean on the lessons learned. Various mistakes I've made throughout my professional life. I'm sure I've made a lot of mistakes which I've learned from. That has been kind of improving my professional personal life ever since.
Yeah, I think that the communication of the mistake is the critical part, at least from my perspective. It's
Right.
how do you explain what went wrong and what you're going to do to fix it. And that can be true of business or relationship, personal relationships. You know, if you've made a mistake in your personal relationship with your husband or your wife, and you say, this is, I'm sorry, I missed our date. I didn't read the, calendar reminder. I didn't see that. It doesn't make it any better for you to say, oh, I didn't see it. I didn't get the reminder. I didn't get the email or whatever. Just say, hey, I made a mistake. I didn't see it. I will fix it next time. I will put it in my calendar. This is what I'm going to do. Those actions that you can take are the most valuable things um, in building that trust and like having that authentic reaction, right? So just like you were saying with your bosses, like if you say to them, "Hey, this is exactly the action I'm going to take to make sure that doesn't happen again," they're going to trust you far more than they would whether from before you made the mistake, because you've shown that you are uh, adept at recognizing the impact of your mistake and the actions that you have to take to prevent that in the future. And I think that's so much more valuable in uh, a colleague or someone that I work with in general than someone that never makes a mistake. Because someone that never makes a mistake, usually they are making mistakes. They just don't admit it, or you just haven't found it yet.
Actually, you're right. Trust is the key word there, because in any setting, if you're trustworthy, that's when people want to work with you. Like you said, if somebody does not own up to his or her mistake, there are two things that can happen. People around you will see through you, and they won't work with you. And you, as an individual who does not own up to your mistakes, you don't really learn from it. So you keep repeating the same thing again and again, which people will get
Exactly.
tired of, right? I've not seen people who have never kind of learned from their mistake or don't own up to it, but I've seen people try to lie their way out of a mistake,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
though if it's a small one, it would not have cost them anything, right? Just saying, hey, I'm sorry, I did this. They would not do that. I think it's a
Yeah.
personal ego kind of a thing.
A hundred
I
percent.
think it's detrimental in a professional setting because people want trustful colleagues to work with. And if you are trying to squirm your way out of even the smallest stuff, I'm just saying, spill coffee and be like, hey, it's not my fault, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It does not really make sense, uh, right?
Well,
And
and it doesn't reflect well on your ability to see reality.
exactly. So if the situation was turned, right, if the shoes on the other feet, they would expect people making the mistakes to apologize. But if it's your case, you would not do that. I mean, it's kind of what do you call it? Hypocritical of them,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah. It,
uh,
like you said, ego is the big part of it. Like, can you accept that you made a mistake? Can you accept responsibility? And what are you going to do to fix it? And once you show those things, people love it. People will really appreciate you for it.
actually, I personally look up to people who own up to mistakes because that is the genuine self, and that means that they are learning a lot in the process. If it's somebody who does not own to their mistakes, or who say that I've never made any mistakes, I mean, I am not going to believe that, because as humans, we do make mistakes every day and we learn from them. This actually happened. One of the guys I was interviewing for a position at the company. One of the general questions, right, behavioral questions, is what mistakes have you made? What have you learned? The guy straight up said, "I've not made any mistakes," but he was not selected. So, and I told him right to his face, I find it hard to believe that you have never made a mistake, and you would not be here if you had not learned from mistakes. So, you mean to say that you got A plus plus in all your studies, not one mistake on any exams, your personal life is perfect, you've not made any mistakes, you have not
Yeah.
broken, like, gone over the speed limit. I mean, those are all small mistakes. So you know people making mistakes are the ones who learn from it, who are better citizens within quotes than people who don't. Again, that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, 100%. You everyone has some sort of flaw or character or otherwise. The recognition of that will is the most valuable thing you can have. Your authenticity will come off 1,000 times more if you can say, "Hey, I screwed up, but here's what I'm doing to fix that." And people will go, "Okay, I've screwed up too. I connect with that," and then you can make that connection with people, whether, like you said, whether it's at work or in your personal relationships. It's obviously it's something that can be defining as a character trait, is the ability to sort of set aside your ego for a little bit. I still have trouble with it myself a lot of the time. I see, you know, I it's those small things that sometimes you don't notice it, and then when someone points it out, it can be very difficult. But you just have to sort of set yourself aside a little bit and say, you know what, you're right, I screwed up, but this is what I'll do next time.
See, the other point of this is you're talking about from the person who committed the mistakes point of view. If you look at from the recipient's point of view, who was a victim of your mistake, how is it going to look? In my example, you do the wrong pricing for an order for the customer. There are two options. You can go back to them and ask them for a revised order with a higher pricing. I'm saying, instead of $100, you put $50, right? That's a
Right.
loss of $50 for you. They can say, okay, fine, you know what? You have been a valuable partner. We'll increase the pricing for you, which rarely happens, but that is a
Yeah.
possibility. The second thing is no, we have to stick with it because you committed to it, right? If you accept and say, hey, my apologies, fine, we let you keep it. But once you accept that, hey, this was a mistake on our end, we will handle it. That gives a lot more confidence in you as a partner than saying, no, 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 we have to cancel it because of, even though it's our mistake, we are not willing to rectify it. From a user point of view, or from the other side, they would have less credibility in working with you, because even though you made a mistake, you don't want to accept to that and remedy it, but you rather go back to before the mistake was made. Nobody is going to forget what happened.
Yeah.
So I think from that point of view, even somebody who spilled coffee on somebody else's desk, you ruined that person's desk. That is not going to go away, even if you go back before that incident happened. For a victim, owning up to that mistake is better than fighting for it, because you can't change that person's point of view.
Yeah, 100%. You're fighting nothing. You're fighting against yourself at that point.
Exactly. There's no winner in this.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a lot of the time, like we've discussed before in different episodes of the Pedal My Way podcast, a lot of these behaviors are driven by fear, aren't they? They're driven by the fear of the response to the mistake, and not the confidence in owning the mistake and accepting that you can do better next time. People are very fearful of a response to something, and I think certainly in my case a few times where I've made a mistake, I do try to think about how that mistake has impacted people more than I think about what will be their response. Because if I think about how it's impacted people, I can sort of try to resolve that. But if I think about what their response is, there's no resolution to that, because that response hasn't happened yet. You're driven by fear. You're driven by a hypothetical situation, whereas
Right.
you make the mistake and then you respond to it. It it's difficult in that moment, but it's always the best way to handle it, because you're going to get a negative response from the person who's been impacted by the mistake, but you will learn from it far better. You will learn from it, and you will be a far more adept person, a far more effective person moving forward, by understanding why you made the mistake and then accepting it and building on your own sense of understanding and responsibility over time, rather than denying it, and then getting more insular and more self-involved, which can happen.
Right. 100%. Do you consider yourself a risky person? I mean, do you take risks for the betterment of your personal and professional life, Rob?
Um, I I don't do it in my personal life. It really depends. Like in my professional life, I like to take risks on companies and exciting ideas. I will always give my time to an exciting idea, something that I'm interested in. I'll take a risk on something where people are passionate about something. That's how I got involved with Pedal My Way, obviously. In terms of that, I do like a risk. I don't risk money, really. I don't like to gamble. I like to say things to people that will they may not like hearing. So I think that in that sense, there's a risk to it. I was qualified as a journalist, so I like the idea of risk in the sense of, is this person going to like what you have to say? And sometimes they don't, but sometimes people need to hear things that you don't want to say. So there is a risk there. So I do like that part of risk.
So it's interesting because when you say pedal my way, this is my risky enterprise, risky venture
Yeah.
to better my personal life. So everybody wants to have their own thing that they're good at. You're good at what you're doing in terms of writing, in terms of your writing talents, your SEO talents. I believe I'm good at creativity and paving my own path. Whatever we are experiencing here, which is kind of unconventional. So this is a risk that I made consciously to take. I wanted to try this out. My thing is you only live once, kind of a thing.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's an interesting question I wanted to ask because we are talking about risk, not in the traditional sense, but in terms of your venture into unknown territories.
Yeah, I just thought of the idea when you were speaking about that. I was thinking about the idea of risks that affect other people and risks that affect yourself. I'll risk things that only affect me. I won't risk anything that affects my family, really. I'll risk my time for things that I'm excited about, but I won't risk, for example, I don't know, making a big bet on a sports game that's going to impact my wife and my family. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Even though it's a guaranteed return, I'm just kidding.
yeah, I'm telling you, McCann, I can't bet on it. I can't do it.
It's a risk-free investment, right? The FTX was a risk-free investment of Bitcoins. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's another that you bring a good point. Actually, the stock market. It's so funny that um, people look at risk in a different way when it's this sort of intangible thing, don't they? They think about it like they look at it as numbers on a sheet, but they don't think about it in their day-to-day lives. I always think it's funny that people are willing to spend, I don't know, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars on vague products or services they don't really understand. But if you handed them the cash, they would just keep it. There's no way they're going to do anything with it. I think that says more about our psychology of um, physical things than it does anything else.
Right. In paper, it's all virtual, right? I mean, if you're on a computer screen, it's virtual. It's like a game. But
Yeah,
if it's tangible cash with you, then your entire perspective changes.
yeah.
That's
I
very
try
interesting.
to, in terms of risk, I try to think about like the money that I have in my bank as like actual, like I always try to picture it as a physical thing, so that each dollar I spend is a physical dollar I give away, so that I'm not just I'm very, let's say the nice word is frugal. I'm quite cheap in terms of what I spend money on, so I'm not going to spend money. I think we talked about before, like people that drive around in like $400,000 cars and are wearing, I don't know, $2,000 jackets or a $10,000 suit, whatever it is. That's not going to be me because I don't. I think it's all about what you value, and I'm not going to risk my money on things that don't bring me the same return.
So coming back to our topic of mistakes you made, do we have a catch-all kind of a thought?
Yeah, my catch-all summary of it is owning up to your mistakes is gonna make up for any mistake that you do make. Owning up to it and showing character and accepting responsibility is just everything that is beneficial to your day-to-day life. It'll make you feel better. It'll make people around you more confident in your abilities, and accepting responsibility and making that a defining characteristic can go a long way to accomplishing whatever it is you want to accomplish in life, because we all make mistakes, as we've mentioned. That would be my summary.
Same here. My thing would be more of you will make mistakes, own up to it, because that will make your life and the lives of people around you much better. And also learn from it. Don't repeat the same mistakes. At least remember the situation so that can help you prevent making similar mistakes. That's what I have done. Uh, But we are prone to make mistakes. We are human. So, you shouldn't be ashamed of making mistakes, but learning from it is more important.
Absolutely.
So great, Rob. I think it's been another good topic that we discussed today. So till the next one, you have a nice week.
You too, McCann. It was great speaking with you, man.
Thank you, sir. Bye bye.
Bye for now.